Welcome to Merit Life Sciences. You are with me, Dr. Silendra, and I will talk to you about the cell की बातें. Cell की बातें के बारे में बात करेंगे. We'll know how the cell are communicating with each other. आपको पता है इससे नेट में बहुत सारे सवाल आते हैं, बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, एंड ये सारे क्वेश्चन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं. कभी ये रिसेप्टर के बारे में पूछा जाता है, कभी मैकेनिज्म पे पूछा जाता है, कभी एम्पलीफिकेशन, कभी सेकंड मॉलिक्यूल्स पे. तो हम एक वन बाय वन वी विल स्टडी अबाउट ऑल दिस फैक्टर्स. सपोज व्हाट इज लोकल एंड स्पेसिफिक कम्युनिकेशन. Suppose there is a classroom, and in that classroom you want to tell something about your friend, something to your friend, but you don't want to disturb any other friends or teachers. This is called as the local or specific communication. Now these communication works in very short distance, local distance. So we will see in that example cells also. Now when a teacher wants to remind everyone in the classroom that they have test on Friday, right, then what kind of communication is this? This is kind of a broadcast in which everyone should get information. Since everyone is getting informations and every one word is involved, this is called as the broadcast communications. And now if there is a college counselor and you need to give an application to all the seniors, this is the word, all the seniors who are applying for early admission, how can you notify each of these? This is called as the long distance, because you don't know who will be your friends, so the information must reach them. This is called as the long distance and specific communications. So you are asking all the seniors applying for early admissions. So now this is another condition. Now you are in a yearbook committee and you want to organize a fundraising car wash event, and how could you get the word out to the community so that there is a good turnout? This is called as this is also example of long distance and broadcast communication, because you want to get maximum fund. This is the target, and if you want to get the maximum fund, there should be maximum reach to the peoples. So this is called as the broadcast. So what you will do, you can put an advertisement so that maximum communication can be made. And if you are talking about the organism so short as well as long distance communication, and sometimes there is a colors as you have seen in peacock, sometimes there is a sound as you have seen the whale or shark. They are communicating via sounds in the sea, and there are ants are communicating via pheromones. There is chemicals, these are the small chemicals. So how might cell is communicating, we'll answer shortly, but certainly for the short distance on the board message there is a neurons are releasing certain chemicals in locally, and that's why they are called as the local regulator neurotransmitters. Okay, and of course you are aware of the neuron structure: sending neuron, axon and dendritic cells, and then there is a release of certain neurotransmitter. If you'll see the yeast, right, so there is a exchange of yeast mating factors for the mating. So there is a signal transduction, there is a signaling. How this signaling operates? This signaling acts in very small manners, in short locally, and then you can see there is a receptor which receives those alpha factor which is released by cell's mating type, and these form a combination, and then there is a communication that there must be mating in close vicinity for the yeast. Then the yeast start dividing if they find their mate. Okay, so in other cases, if we'll see, for example, in the case of animal cells, there is a paracrine signaling, synaptic signaling. If we'll see paracrine signaling, they secrete cells in nearby target cells by discharging molecule, and a growth factor sometimes is released in the extracellular fluid. You can see here is the growth factor, local regulatory growth factor, which diffuses through extracellular fluid, and then there is a target cells and they are acting. This is called as the paracrine signaling. And what about the synaptic signaling? When nerve cell is neurotransmitter, this is a kind of synaptic signaling. Neurotransmitter most often do like this. Okay, so not taking too much time, if we'll talk about the long distance cell-to-cell communication, message sent to lots of different cells. Some will act on it. For example, endocrine signaling. There is a hormones released in the blood, and they reach to the different part of the body, and they show their effect. So both plant and animal uses there such kind of signaling, hormone signaling. I have discussed endocrine signaling. You can see the plant hormone ethylene is a very discussed case, most often asked in the examination. You can see the result earlier without ethylene or less amount of ethylene, there is no ripening of the bananas, while in the excessive ethylene there is a high ripening of the bananas. So what are these type of signals? These are paracrine, these are short range local general, synaptic signaling, short local and very specific, and hormonal very long distance and general specific. So these are the what are the stages of cell signaling according to Sutherland. So Sutherland, there may be reception first, there should be transduction, and then there should be response. One forgot to mention about the termination. So basically there are three steps involved. पहला reception होगा, transduction होगा, and response होगा. And if we'll see what is reception, there will be signal molecule, and there will be receptors, and they will bind. Signal molecule will bind to receptor. There might be some kind of changes in the receptor, and there is a relay mechanism in which molecules are further proceed in the pathway. This is called as the transduction, and there is a response, activation of cellular response. So reception, target cell detection is a kind of target cell detection, which kind of signaling molecule is there. So they may often causes change in the shape. What are the transduction? Transduction, several steps where each molecule bring about a change in the next molecule. This is called the transduction. And sometimes there is amplification, multi-time release of the molecule. Response occur in the last molecule transition pathway and trigger the cell response. So in summary, we can say there must be synthesis of signal molecule, release of signaling molecule, there must be transport of the signals, there must be detection of the signal, there must be change in cellular metabolism, function or development triggered by receptor signal complex, and finally there must be the removal of signal. So you can see here graphically, there must be signal, there must be reception, and there is a analysis, and after analysis there is amplification, then it reaches to the target, and then there is a termination of the response. So that new kind of already we have discussed about endocrine, long distance, paracrine, local. Autocrine occurs in tumors. Please note that this is a part of tumor or cell. There is a membrane attached signals, there is a receptors, and continuously they are dividing. So this kind of autocrine signaling, sometime of growth factors are there, and they happen, and sometime plasma membrane attached protein are there that respond in this way. So how cell signaling evolved? Cell signaling evolved from the bacteria in the ancient time, when they started secreting chemicals during the starvation. Right. So this year in 2018 NET JRF exam, there is a question regarding starvation of cell. We will discuss later on how this mechanism. This is called as the quorum sensing. Group of chemicals is released, and mostly they are received by the receptors. You can see the signal is synthesized, signal diffuses, and then there is a multiple received by multiple receptor. This is called the quorum sensing signal molecule. Signal bind to receptor, receptor bind to promoter, and then there is a gene expression, and according to gene expression there is a response in the bacteria. Either they will form the biofilm, either they start moving, either they start showing attachment, either they can show oxidative stress response or undergo vitamin synthesis. So quorum sensor, what is quorum sensing? Quorum sensing allows bacterial population to coordinate their behavior so that they can carry out activity that are only productive when performed by given number of cells in synchrony. If we talk about the animal and plant cell, how they are communicating, animal cell are communicating by gap junction between the two cells. You can see there is a two cells, in between the two cells there is a gap junction. This is the gap junction, and molecule can move from here to there, right, and they are tightly regulated. And even in the plants you can see a similar kind of structure are there called as the plasmodesmata, and the molecule can move between the two cells. In local signaling you can see the best example is immune system and the embryonic development, right? So if you are studying developmental biology, you must be well aware of the signaling, cell signaling. And if you want to know well about immune system, if you want to understand well about immune system, then you must know well about these local signaling. So what happens in detail I will tell you. For example, if you're talking about the any antigen, so if an antigen is there, they are immediately phagocytized by phagocytic cells, and as soon as the macrophages are eating them, they are fragmenting them into the antigen fragments, and there is a classic MSC molecule inside the macrophages which captures these antigen fragment and present to the T cell receptor, and then these T helper cell release various cytokines and then form TC cells to respond further. This is a kind of no distance cell to cell communication, and that's in this way a T cell immune defense work, because whenever there is a viruses are there presented by the T helper cells, presented and then release of interleukins, and interleukins leads to proliferation of cytotoxic T cells. Got the idea? Because of these communication between the MSC which captures antigen and present to the helper T cell, there is a large number of proliferation of cytotoxic T cells, and cytotoxic T cells now are attacking the infected cells, and the infected cells are destroyed by cytotoxic T cells. So in next lecture we will talk about transduction pathway, which will involve reception, which will involve transduction, which will involve various kind of response. Thank you. Till then, bye bye. Please don't forget to subscribe.